All right, so WWE Monday Night Raw after Elimination Chamber, now on the road to Madison Square Garden, and then WrestleMania. And a new champion is crowned as Iyo Sky defeats Rhea Ripley to win the Women's Championship. This one got a little bit sloppy at times, but overall the crowd was really into this match, which has been a rallying point, I guess, for me on Iyo Sky for a while, is that this crowd has been behind Iyo Sky for a minute now. That they have really been getting into the Iyo Sky character. And so I don't understand, or I wasn't understanding why she wasn't a bigger part of the show. And now she is, as the world champion on the women's side of things. And I thought there was some good storytelling in this one as well, with Rhea Ripley getting in Bianca's face, which ends up costing Rhea. So look, I'm a huge Iyo fan. I love this for her. I think there is some potential interesting character development going on in this, with Rhea a little bit of self-doubt now for the first time, and we saw like she had a sense of vulnerability around the Dom stuff with Liv Morgan, and that showed a little bit more of a human side for what is otherwise a badass character. And so I'm interested to see where they go from there, where she's like on the floor just like really berating herself after. So interested to see where they go from that, or with that, sorry. And Bianca had a bit more of a heelish edge to her. And while I think she is an incredibly likable character with a moveset that is really hard to not like, I do think that some of her best character work was when she was a heel, initially coming up from NXT as the EST of WWE. And it took her some time to really fall into this babyface character that is now obviously working for her, but I do think a lot of her best stuff was at when she was the cocky heel who is just a better athlete than everyone else. So there's some interesting character stuff going on in all of this. And so again, cannot stress enough how big a fan I am of Iyo Sky. That being said, I was kind of looking forward to a Rhea versus Bianca one-on-one. Like, that felt like it could be a big deal, and a bit of a, like, where there's the potential for a, I don't know if passing the torch is the right thing, but a bit of that with Charlotte and Tiffany on the SmackDown side. I think you just have two of your best go at it in the Raw side with Rhea and with Bianca, and now you just, I would assume, probably have three of your best going for it with Iyo, with Rhea, and with Bianca. So it's going to be an amazing match. And I think that it's going to be something that could potentially kind of steal the show here a little bit. Now, I do wonder how the Jade and Naomi saga kind of ties in with all of this. I do think that there is potentially it's messing with Bianca's head, and then Bianca addresses it kind of post-Mania, while Jade and Naomi do their thing leading up to the show of shows out in Las Vegas, Nevada. But I do wonder if the real nuts and bolts of it from a Bianca side don't come up kind of post-Mania. And that's something we talked about the other day, is that all of these things, it feels like we need to have this big culmination for WrestleMania, and that has been I mean, look, that is what it is supposed to be, and obviously they're pulling out a lot of stops for it, but I do think they are setting themselves up for basically the next season of WWE as well, with some of the storylines that they have on both the men's and the women's side. But back to this one, it's so well deserved for Iyo. Like I said, I genuinely think she's one of the best performers in the world right now, and she is having just a fantastic year. So the crowd is behind her. Give her this opportunity and give her a major spotlight at WrestleMania. I also loved some of the callbacks to her Damage Control teammates, and Michael Cole right on the ball with that one. I would imagine a couple conversations were had as he kind of shouts out all of her former Damage Control teammates. So I'm hoping we get something with them as well. So it kind of messes with my booking ahead to Mania thought, where I was wondering if we would get Iyo in a tag team going after Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, and it's either Iyo and Asuka, Iyo and Dakota Kai, Iyo and Kairi Sane going after that one. But for now, she is in the championship picture heading towards WrestleMania 41. The show kicks off with some classic CM Punk as he was out there spitting fire. This was the CM Punk that we have been waiting for. And there have been a few people wondering if he's kind of dialed it back maybe a little bit too much with some of the promos and everything like that. I said the other day, after his kind of promo battle with Logan Paul, that he is doing a really good job of making a lot of the things that he is saying feel big and feel important. Well, now he came out with that fire that we are used to from CM Punk. Just some absolutely great work calling out The Rock and John Cena. You have to assume there's a major program there at some point. And we've talked about potential tags for night one at WrestleMania, and I wonder now, do you get Rock, Cena, Seth against Cody, Punk, and Reigns on night one? You'd have to get a little bit creative, and there would have to be a little bit of suspending and forgetting with Seth teaming with Rock. But if Roman is on the one side, you can see Seth being like, no, he was the problem, not Rock. Roman was the problem, and doing it that way. Now, again, if we are assuming that it is Seth, Roman, and Punk for night two, then obviously it gets a little bit tricky with Punk and Roman on the same team, but I still think you could have a lot of fun with that. And so that is just the thing with this John Cena story, is that it opens up so many possibilities that we had not thought of. And so later on this week, or maybe next week, we're going to be looking at how I would maybe book ahead to the end of the year with John Cena as the champion. So, or not as the champion, well, maybe as the champion, but John Cena as a heel, and what is kind of the ultimate play out of that whole thing. But from there, CM Punk goes into a thing about Seth Rollins, and Rollins comes out, and they have an epic brawl and a real good pull apart. This is going to look great in a Travis Scott music video for WrestleMania 41 when these two get after it. They're going to have a steel cage match at Madison Square Garden, and it is going to be absolutely amazing. The one thing that I find interesting is CM Punk gets hurt just taking a DDT last year at the Royal Rumble. They're not conserving fuel with this ride on him. It is, no, you're doing Elimination Chamber. We're going to do a steel cage match. I hope he's not the one flying off of it. But they are getting their money's worth out of CM Punk. Gunther was the perfect heel again. Like, I'm winning championship belts. You can't even find belts that fit. The line to Otis was just, mwah, chef's kiss. Fantastic stuff. And they had a really fun match. And I have said for the last couple of weeks now, there is more with Otis and Tozawa than they are using them as right now. And honestly, like, it is basically just doing the same thing with these guys. But if you had a Otis being more serious and Tozawa being more serious with Gunther as kind of leading them along, I would have no problem with that. I think there's actually something there with this group. Even a Maxine Dupree. I'm not saying she should go on a run for the women's title or anything like that, but I just think there is more they can be doing with this trio right now. The match was good, but it's kind of the same thing, where now you have Gunther come out, cuts a promo about how awesome he is, beats the shit out of someone. Whilst beating the shit out of them, Jey Uso comes down, and there's a thing, and now A-Town Down Under is involved in it. But either way, it feels like the program's hit a wall, and we had a real good start to it coming out of the Royal Rumble. But this was the one where you were a little bit concerned about, because there was so much time between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, and how were they going to do it? And they got off to a great start, but there needs to be a little bit of progression in this story now. And I don't think a feud with A-Town Down Under and the Alpha Academy is really what this actually needs. So yeah, it's a bit of a... It feels like it is losing momentum because of all the major things that are happening. And so it felt big because it was the first WrestleMania thing that we had. It's coming out of the Royal Rumble, and there was a little bit of doubt. And then you get the yeets and the encore and stuff like that. But now that everything else is taking shape, this is getting pushed further and further into the background. Ivy Nile against Lyra Valkyria for the Intercontinental title. They put on an absolute show, these two. This was, I think, definitely the best match Ivy Nile has been involved with, and another really good one from Lyra Valkyria, who is in a number of these now. And they are really establishing the women's Intercontinental title kind of similarly to the men's as the workers' championship, so to speak. And so I think that is great. But as we have talked about, there needs to be a little bit more investment put in these characters. And they've tried a couple video packages here and there, but there needs to be stories that we can get into instead of just, I want that title, so I am taking that title. There needs to be a little bit more than just that going into some of these matches, because the matches are really, really good. Penta and Kaiser continues. this one has run its course, and I actually feel like it's kind of slowing the momentum of both guys. And I like both guys, but no one views Kaiser on the same level as Penta, and so it is kind of, the more it goes on, the more it is like, hey, we're aware that Kaiser isn't on Penta's level, and we're becoming more aware as the week goes on, so it lowers him. And because of that, it's lowering interest in Penta, which is really hard to do, given the look and the chant and the moveset and everything like that. So I am hoping that this wraps up and we get something with a little bit more oomph going into WrestleMania. Speaking of which, Chad Gable was in Mexico. This actually looked serious, but then it ends up with like just a weird box and a money thing, like, no, keep coming. Keep it coming. Okay, there we go. $500. And he ends up just getting like a box. So I am hoping that this leads to a key somewhere, and it's not just Chad Gable's coming back in a lucha mask, and that is the key to unlocking all of these powers. This felt like a way to introduce a new character. Someone just casually mentioned on a podcast I was listening to, Conan, that would be incredible if you were to do that. Like, Gable doesn't really need a mouthpiece, so to speak. I think he has a lot of it already, but I do think if you brought in kind of a bit of a semi-established person to pair up with him, I think that would be a pretty fun addition to this whole thing. So hopefully there's a little bit more to this than would appear right now. The War Raiders taking on the Creed Brothers for the World Tag Team titles. This was another really good match. These two teams obviously work very well together, and I think there should be a little bit more done with them, even with a couple of War Raider wins. Now, I do think the War Raiders should come out of it with the titles still, because I like them as a group, but I think that there is a bit more you can do with the Creed Brothers and with these guys. And just with this tag team division on Raw in general, I'm assuming the New Day are going to be kind of invested in again in the tag team division as this goes along. You do have a good one in whatever grouping of the LWO that you want to roll with. So it is not the in-ring depth that SmackDown has, but it's certainly that the character depth is there, that you can do some fun stuff with the tag team division. A couple other quick notes here. AJ Styles is going to be calling out Logan Paul. I was hoping AJ would be a bit more in the IC title picture with Braun Breaker. They just did that thing where AJ caught the shirt and we all kind of lost our minds. So hoping that, I guess maybe this is a four-way, and it's AJ, Logan Paul, Braun Breaker, and Finn Balor at WrestleMania. I think that would be a lot of fun. It would be a good spotlight for Braun, a very, very interesting match, and ultimately a pretty good showcase for a two-night event where you're probably going to have a lot of multi-man matches going on. Coming up at Madison Square Garden, we're going to have the LWO against the New Day in a Texas Tornado match. I thought a good, serious promo from Rey. The one thing I didn't like about it is it's super serious, and then he ends, and like, Spanish is so easy to sound fucking badass in, man. And he says New Day sucks, but in Espanol, and then he ends with a chant of New Day sucks, and we're just like, oh, we were right there. And now it feels a little bit corny. But it should be a very fun match. Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio against the New Day coming up at Madison Square Garden on Monday. Overall, this was a really good Raw. There was a lot of momentum coming off of Elimination Chamber. We didn't really get much advancement in the Rock, Cody, Cena saga. I was hoping we would, selfishly, but you do kind of understand that they are kind of spreading this out a little bit more and have a little bit more to go. But I was hoping we would get at least something figured out on Monday. But right now, this show is at a real high level. And I think you have basically, aside from video packages, you have no Rock, no Cena, no Cody, no Kevin Owens, and no Sami Zayn. Those were like the two biggest matches that were focused on going into this thing, or the two biggest, whatever, segments focused on going into this, and the talking points coming out of it. You had video packages, but basically nothing from anyone on there, and you still had a very good show. It just shows the high level depth that is on Monday Night Raw right now.